Jenny Lauren Dowden for Conduit News, and today we have a local mom. She is a parent of a 6-year-old at a local elementary school, here to talk to us about some inappropriate and sexual material there at the elementary school. Hi, Meredith. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, I recently heard about what was going on at your child's elementary school. This is a very hot topic, not just here in our state, but nationally. Talk to us about what you discovered.
Yeah, so my daughter, first grader at Root Elementary here in Fayetteville, back in October, she always checks out a book about animals, and she brought home a cute little penguin book.
Yeah.
And as I began to read it, my mouth dropped open. It was a book about penguins sleeping together called And Tango Makes Three.
Mm-hmm. And then, so as you're reading it with her at that moment, like, what did you do? Did you have to make up a story on your own? Or was she reading along with you? What happened?
So my instinct told me where the book was going.
Yeah.
So I read it ahead silently to myself, and then made up, my own cute little penguin story.
Yeah. And then, so were you surprised that she brought home that book? Tell us how you felt when you saw that book in your home and this topic was being introduced to your 6-year-old. Had you even talked about that with her yet?
Right. I was shocked. I was angry. And I wanted to address it with the school.
And then what happened then?
I did. I sent an email to the principal, assistant principal, and the librarian. Mm-hmm. They then responded. The principal responded with the book challenge process that Fayetteville offers to parents. And that was okay. But what I really wanted was an in-person meeting to discuss this.
And did you get that?
I did. 8 days later, they agreed to an in-person meeting with the librarian, the principal, and the assistant principal.
How did that go?
It was more me leading the conversation. Throughout that meeting, I did find out that the librarian was responsible for choosing that book that was placed in the library. I also asked if books like this were read aloud to the students, and the response was from the principal, books like this do not align with our curriculum.
Okay, help us break that down. So it doesn't align with curriculum, but yet it's in the school and a child can bring it home.
Correct. And they also could not tell me if they felt like the book was appropriate or not. They were not there to give their personal opinions.
Did you feel like maybe their hands were tied? They weren't able to speak freely? What was your impression?
I do feel like that their hands may be tied. I feel like from an administration standpoint, they're afraid to give their opinion one way or the other. Mm-hmm. From a librarian standpoint, the fact that she's choosing these books to be in the library, it tells me where she stands.
So then after you had that meeting, did it go anywhere? What happened next?
Well, one solution, and that is in place, is they flagged my daughter's account. She is not allowed to check out books with any sexual content. That was a solution that they offered. It's also in writing from me that they are not allowed to read books with sexual content aloud to my child. And then I was presented with the book challenge process.
And then I'm assuming you did that.
I did challenge the book. They choose a committee of 6 members, one being the librarian that chose the book to be in the library, 5 other people, and they voted 6-0 to keep the book in the library. And they talked about that the book teaches inclusivity and kindness. And they missed the point about it being sexual.
Okay, so then you get that response back from the book committee, or what is it called?
The book review committee.
Okay,
something like that.
So you get that response back,
mm-hmm.
and then I'm sure disappointed because this isn't about inclusivity or kindness. No. It's about sexual content that a 6-year-old is able to get her hands on.
Correct.
So then what happened?
So the next step is to appeal it.
Okay.
And that goes before the school board. And this most recent school board meeting, they voted 7-0 with no discussion to keep the book in the library. Again, sexual content, common sense issue. This is not a left versus right issue. This is a common sense issue. We're talking about a 6-year-old.
So what was your, where did you anticipate to go from there? The administration, the book committee, the school board, they're all saying that this is appropriate
Correct.
for your daughter who's 6.
Correct.
So now what?
Now what? Here we are. I really just want parents to know what's in the library. As a parent, it's my 2nd year at Root Elementary. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And had I known, I would have been definitely talking to them so that this didn't happen. And so really, I just want to raise awareness to parents, but also, with Sarah Huckabee Sanders coming on as governor, I do feel encouraged by what she has spoke about. And I think that we can do better. Since COVID, we're behind. Our test scores show that. And, really we should be focused on reading, writing, math, educating kids, not indoctrinating, not grooming.
Yeah.
Those are conversations that need to happen between the parent and the child at home when the parent feels like it's time. They are not the parents. We are.
Going back to Governor Sanders, in her, when she unveiled the plan for Arkansas Learns, she did mention in there, we're not going to indoctrinate, we're going to educate.
Right.
And she also mentioned explicit, inappropriate sexual material that the kids under her watch, that will not happen. It will not be available. I'm sure that was, as you mentioned, super encouraging.
Yes, very, very encouraging. I will say that this book that was chosen is one of the most controversial and banned books between 2010 and 2019. But it sits on the shelf in my child's elementary school library. So I feel encouraged by what's happening with Sarah Huckabee Sanders in her education plan. And I'm confident that we're going to do better.
Yeah. One thing that I've heard is, parents are wanting to ban books. And we recently had Dr. Jay Green on. He's from the Heritage Foundation. And he said, this is not about book banning. And he said, if it were, then either all of us are book banners or none of us. It's just simply choosing what the right material is in a particular setting. And so would you say that this isn't about banning the book? If you want to go out and purchase a book online, you certainly can. It's about choosing what is appropriate for these children and what can they have access to.
That is correct. No, it is not book banning. It is choosing appropriate material for a K-4 school. It's as simple as that.
So next steps is just to continue to be aware and hold the school accountable. That
is right.
All right. Anything else that you want to add?
No, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Before you go, what advice would you give to parents who, I do feel like you said, since COVID, a lot of parents are starting to wake up and pay more attention and hold schools accountable. And also we want to work in tandem with them. It's not about us versus them, the schools, because they're wonderful teachers in these buildings, but working with them for more transparency and accountability. So what advice would you give to other parents out there?
I would just say parents need to be aware. They can go to the school district website and they can look up books that are in the library. This one specifically is And Tango Makes Three. It's in multiple elementary school libraries in Fayetteville. You can also set an appointment with the librarian and you can go in and you can look at books. Be vigilant. If you have to flag your child's account, do that. We have to advocate for our children, and I wholeheartedly support the school, but I will always advocate for my child and what's right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hope to have you back on again soon.
Thank you.